many hearts have you broken with those great big beautiful eyes? Those great big beautiful eyes that tell such beautiful lies.
How many times have you kissed somebody like you kissed me then? I don't.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all ships at sea. We interrupt this broadcast to bring you an important message from the Prepared Mind Network.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. I dig that new promo stuff. Thanks a lot, man. I'm just going to call you Mr. T. And I pity the fool that doesn't like my promos. Oh man, I'm in a good mood and I don't know why. Actually, I do know why, but it's not because it's hitting the fan and it's getting worse. That's actually a very serious subject, makes me very somber really quick. But some good things are happening and I want you to stay positive. It's not a foregone conclusion that everything is going to go wrong. It just is all going, it's all going the wrong way currently as far as real momentum, but there is pushback, there is shove back. And I want to talk about non-compliance. And I'm not talking about what people probably think I'm talking about with regard to non-compliance. I am talking about a company that says they will not comply with the ATF, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms bureaucracy. And it is, folks, a rare breed that is going to be non-compliant with such a heavy-handed bureaucracy, pro-government institution. Now, as a reminder, the ATF is the federal law enforcement bureaucracy that went after the Branch Davidians at Waco, Texas, back in the early 1990s. Now, what did they do wrong? Well, let's see. Apparently, they were buying weapons in a manner or in a fashion that was not accepted, not nice, not liked, and so they decided they would that they were buying illegal weapons, and they raided them with guns. And then we know what happened. Ultimately, in order to save the children, all the children ended up dying in a fiery inferno. Terrible, terrible thing. But that's the ATF. So now we have a company run by Lawrence DeMonico, the president of Rare Breed Triggers, RBT. And he has looks like a trigger group for a particularly fun toy to play with. And the ATF said, no, you can't have that. They say that makes it a machine gun. The trigger itself is a machine gun. And so we have the ATF, like every other federal bureaucracy, state bureaucracy, local bureaucracy, saying, yeah, we know what the rules are, but we're just going to make rules up as we go. We're going to redefine words. We're going to just say we're the regulatory authority and we will do what we want. And this guy is saying, no, not going to comply because you guys are wrong. Now, I don't want to make this is not a big talk about guns. This is a talk about being non-compliant when the government is obviously wrong and what we should do about it or what we could do about it and how we could think about things. Where do we need to set our perspective at? Do we need to set our perspective as Americans, as free people anywhere on the planet? Is our perspective that government is always right and that government must be obeyed? Or can we have a different perspective, a different way to look at things and say, you know what? They're the government, but that doesn't make them right. They're just the government and that they can be stopped and they should be stopped when they are obviously incorrect, right? So what do we have here? What has been going on though in this country? We have had for several years if you want to go back decades, you can, but certainly the last few years into the Obama administration where they used bureaucracy as a weapon against their political opponents. Now, everybody in the Second Amendment industries are political opponents. Anyone in the anti-woke movement, right? The woke movement is destroy America. So people that are anti-woke are pro-America. They are political opponents of certain bureaucracy. Here but in this case, we're looking at this, right? And there's many other things, right? Many other things that people are protesting right now because of mandates and forced compliance and everything else. And people are saying no. So what is going on here? Well, we have many things going on, and I want to kind of bring them all together under this banner of non-compliance. And I'm not telling you what to think. I'm not advising you on how to behave. I want you to behave in a lawful fashion. I want you to not do anything dangerous or harmful. But my opinion and your opinion are different. I'm just going to share with you some ideas, and then you get to form your own opinion around that. Form your own opinion around that. You're your own person. I respect that. Government, big tech, corporations, social media giants, social media or social justice warriors, they don't respect your opinion, your independence, your freedoms, your liberties, your mind. They don't respect it, and they try and change it with force. I'm going to give you some ideas, and you get to think about it. So what is going on right now? My opinion is they're trying to destroy America. In order to get order out of chaos, you have to make chaos out of what order exists. The order we have right now, law and order, constitution, equal justice, equal opportunity, treating each other fairly, respecting one another. That's the order we have now. So they need to make chaos out of our order in order to make their idea of order, their order out of the chaos. First, they have to create the chaos. How do they do that? How do they create this chaos out of our order, our constitution, our laws? Well, first thing they have to do is divide the people, split them into groups and sections, and then make them hate each other, right? So you divide the people, then you, as the Hegelian dialect masters in government and powers that be puppet master zone, they want people to hate each other. So first they divide, and then they demonize certain groups. So they demonize leftist groups, the anti-gun group, the BLM group, the Antifa group. They demonize, they get groups to hate men or hate older, boomers. It's always divide and then conquer, and then they will get people to come after you. Now, that's next, right? First divide, then demonize, and finally destroy us. And they're doing that. That's what this move is about. They want to destroy the Second Amendment. And they every time they try it, all that happens is sales go up. So the bureaucracy, the government, sometimes the legislature, sometimes the bureaucracy starts coming after people. Right now, it's the bureaucracy. And right, and I'm talking specifically here about the ATF, but there are other bureaucracies, are there not, that are demanding compliance, demanding that people obey, demanding that people don't question, demanding that people don't object. Just do as you're told, stupid little people. So what happens, folks? First, you get people who protest. We protest everything that's being mandated, from face diapers to high-capacity magazines, right? We protest their objections. They're the ones trying to take from us our freedoms, our choices. Remember my body, my choice? Yeah. Now there's none of that, right? See, it's my AR-14, my choice to put whatever trigger group I want in there, as long as it doesn't. Anyways, we're all legal. We're legal. We're lawfully behaving. It's someone else trying to take from us. So we protest that. We object to it. And then they say, well, now that we've told you what we're going to do, now we're doing it. You must obey. That is where we're at right now. We've been demonized. We've been divided and demonized. And they want to destroy us. So we protest, and then we are non-compliant. Refusing to comply is the step we're in. But understand who we're dealing with, folks. It's first protests, then refusal to comply with their unlawful, unconstitutional requirements. And then what follows is violence. This is a formula that I haven't made up. This is a formula demonstrated by history. This is the history of non-compliance with out-of-control, tyrannical government institutions. What happens next is always violence. We've seen Antifa and BLM go right from they think they're protesting all the way into violence. Okay, the violence is one of their tools of division, demonizing, and destruction. Right, but they go to that. I talked about the ATF and how in the past they have what? Right? They have engaged in acts of violence. We're seeing this also with no-knock raids, the militarization of law enforcement. And I understand the arguments for, and I understand the arguments against. I'm not talking about whether or not it's a good idea. I'm talking about the consequences of these decisions made by government, which always tend to go from law enforcement fulfillment to law enforcement or government violence. It all tends to violence when someone is trying to take something from you. Coming the other direction, we protest and then we say we're doing non-compliance. Now this guy, this Demonico fellow, the president of Rare Breed Triggers, I am completely impressed with this guy's willingness to put it all on the line. I'm impressed with it because he's saying, look, no, you're wrong, you're incorrect, and we will not comply. People are not complying over a lot of things, folks. And I think that that is a strong indicator that violence is coming. Now, I don't want to comply with their talking point guidelines, their terms of service, their community guidelines. And if I don't comply, I have no choice in the option. They just censor me, silence me, punish me. So I can't talk about certain topics. But you see, that is their violent move. That is their violent move in big tech social media. They say, we don't want you to talk about certain subjects, and we protested. And then they said, well, we're going to force compliance. And we say we're non-compliant, and they instantly punish. Okay, now in the real world, the non-electronic world, it's a different matter, is it not? In order for them to force compliance, well, they can't just cancel you electronically. Well, I guess they can, and they do, but you still walk around, you still breathe, you still eat, but they want to get into other areas, folks. They want you to comply, and if you don't, you can't go shopping, you can't travel, you can't have what? A bank account, you can't have this, you can't have that. They're trying to force compliance, and you have a choice. We all have a choice. Will you comply or will you not comply with these mandates, which are violating our fundamental, constitutional, Declaration of Independence, God-given rights? And I'm glad to see Lawrence DeMonico of Rare Breed Triggers. I want to throw business his way. If you need a trigger group, you need some kind of trigger, go to Rare Breed Triggers and, hey, see what they've got for sale. But there's a good chance, folks, that this guy is going to be raided. Oh, additionally, folks, not only did they say that they're making this one trigger illegal, that it's been classified, a trigger, folks, is classified as a machine gun. A trigger is not a machine gun. A trigger is a trigger. When you put a trigger into a gun that fires fully automatic, then it becomes a machine gun. But his trigger is not fully automatic. It is not. Anyways, here's the deal. Not only do they want them to stop selling these triggers, they want to know who's bought one. So, that's private information, but the government wants it, right? They want cease and desist. They want them to stop. They want to know who has these triggers. That's the world we're in, forcing compliance. At what point, folks, do you either fully comply or do you say, I'm not complying anymore with government? Do I have, as a citizen, a right to object, to be free? Do I have a right to say no more? Do I have a right to say that's too far? You've gone too far? The answer is yes. Now, government will say the only recourse you have is to vote. Oh, voting. What a silly notion. You can vote, and that is how you comply or don't comply. And then if you're outvoted, well, then you don't have a say in it. You've had your voice. Your voice is your vote. Your vote is your voice. Well, we know how we feel about that, right? You know, there's our voice and our vote is being taken from us. That's why I really want you to go to patreon.com. If you're there, fantastic. If you're not, you really need to be, because patreon.com is where our voice is much stronger and I can talk about all topics. I like these new promos. They're pretty fun to play with. We need to have a real voice. And ultimately, when it comes to things like the Second Amendment, hey, your First Amendment right to religiously object to mandates that violate our religious principles. Are you going to comply, or are you going to be non-compliant? And what are going to be the consequences of that? Are you willing to live as a slave, or are you willing to dispute what we consider to be unconstitutional actions? Are you willing to dispute them and have to, well, fight it out? That's where we're at in this process. This is where we're getting to very, very quickly. Very quickly, we're getting to the protest, refuse to comply, followed by violence. This is shit, it's the fan. It is core. This can lead to Mad Max in areas. This is where you'll discover if your law enforcement, be it sheriff, police department, state, police, governor, whether they will or will not allow the enforcement of unlawful edicts, rulings, regulations by bureaucracies which are not accountable to the people and only accountable to elected politicians who have basically no desire to stand up for our constitutional rights. If you want to use January 6th protesters who are being incarcerated for trespassing without trial for more than 6 months, what are we up to now? 8 months? 7 months and counting. Are your sheriffs going to allow that to happen? Will your police department, local, allow and participate in the enforcement of unlawful regulations, unlawful mandates? Or will they stand on the side of the people? We're going to find out, folks. Same with the governors, same with the state legislatures. What is going to happen to America next? Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Have a plan, folks. Have a plan. Have what you need already, because times are going to get more shitty. 2021 is not playing out the way I suspected or expected or anticipated. But the violence is inherent in the system, is it not, Jolene? The violence is inherent in the system. The violence is waiting to play out because there is a formula: divide, demonize, destroy. Protests, refuse to comply, mandatory forced violent compliance. It's the same formula playing out again and again. It played out in Soviet Union, Russia. It played out in Nazi Germany. It played out in pre-revolutionary France. It played out in pre-revolutionary colonial America. It played out in pre-Civil War America. It played out in World War I. It played out in World War II. It always plays in this order. But we've always looked at history as an event. Ah, yes, World War II, as if it was there and gone. Poof. No. It was a series of events. It was a process by which things happened and things occurred. Way before the first shot was fired, things happen. That shot is fired, then many more shots, and things play out the other way. And it's interesting, World War I, World War II, they ended, interestingly. I want to do this, and this will be the last point I make on this, and then maybe we'll elaborate on it more in the future. World War II ended, and one half of Europe to the west was liberated, became free from Nazi oppression, communist aggression. East Germany, east into the Soviet Union, the Baltic states fell under communism. They were not liberated, right? The war ended, but they went from Nazi totalitarianism to communist totalitarianism. Things did not get better for them. In the world right now, in the United States of America, are we going to get into violent consequences of abusive, tyrannical government? And then how do we get out of it? Are there going to be splits like there was in Europe, where East and West, one was free, one was not? Are we going to have that sort of geographic political makeup in the United States of America? It is very possible. Very possible. Folks, chance favors the prepared mind. It's all about freedom, folks. Freedom is the objective. With freedom comes prosperity. With freedom comes happiness. So if you take away freedom, what do you take away? Prosperity and happiness. If there was another way to get prosperity and happiness, through totalitarianism, through tyranny, through huge oppressive controlling government, then we would have many examples of the people being extremely happy and extremely, right, prosperous. But no, they fail. They suck. They're abusive, and they result in the death and loss of lives, as well as the lives that are allowed to live being miserable. That is what totalitarian government gives us. If you aren't on Patreon, I want you to get on Patreon, because they could remove us from YouTube at any time for any reason. And whether or not I'm compliant, I have no recourse with them. None at all. None at all, because, well, that's just how it works, right? They are the masters. So get over to Patreon, if you will, and that way you can ensure that you get to continue to get this kind of information. And again, I'm not telling you how to be. You choose for yourself who you are, folks. Chance favors the prepared mind is yours. Godspeed, Semper Fi.